You're listening to Todd Bookspan's Real Talk on Intelligent Talk 960, The Patriot. Now, live in studio, your host, local real estate expert, Todd Bookspan.
Welcome to Real Talk, the show that's about you. It's about rebuilding Arizona's housing and credit markets one family at a time. And I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy Saturday to learn a little bit more about what's going on in our market. Of course, before I get going too much further, I have to say that I'm Todd Bookspan, NMLS ID 218341, and I want to make the compliance folks happy. But we're excited for today's show. We actually are bringing on a recent popular guest, so it'll be a voice that those of you who listen frequently have heard before, and I'm very excited to bring back Miss Kelly Henderson with Momentum Real Estate Group at Keller Williams.
Woohoo! Thank you so much for having me today.
See, woohoo! That's how we should be. That's the way we should be starting things.
Yes.
And so it's crazy when this show just starts. We were having just a great talk with Mick, who I should introduce, Mr. Mick Bernard, credit certified strategist.
Woohoo!
Oh wow! We're really, man. Let's hear some woohoos in your car while you're driving, listening. Very excited. We were talking about cousins, and that was an interesting conversation, right? I mean,
some people don't have first cousins, and some people hang around with their fifth cousins.
Well, and you're expecting some nieces or nephews soon, Kelly, correct?
Yeah, and so both of my husband's, two of his sisters are pregnant right now, and so we've been trying to come up with aunt and uncle names of what we'd like to be called. And we've decided on Uncle D for Dustin and Aunt Kel for me.
Oh, that's kind of nice, you know?
I mean, I hope it catches on because kids make up their own stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So for all I know, it just could be a jumble of letters.
They'll probably
and
call you
sounds.
Ankle.
Oh, no! That's horrible, but that's 100% what'll happen.
Well, my nieces and nephews call me Uncle Todd. I guess I wasn't smart enough to think ahead like you guys have.
Well, that's really, I mean, we're not right there yet for the kid thing. So that's really all we can think about is we're not thinking about boys and girls and having babies yet, but coming up with our own weirdo aunt and uncle names is working just
That's
fine
pretty
for
cool.
us.
That's great. I don't think they're weirdo. Yeah, you are wearing you're wearing your just married necklace. We had you on before, right after you had returned from your honeymoon. So
Yes, to Fiji.
I don't know if I should ask. I mean, is the marriage still good?
It's wonderful.
I mean, it's not a marriage advice show, but Mick and I have both been married for a long time.
Well, everybody always asks, like, oh, is it different? No, it's just the same. We still love each other.
All right,
so.
well, that's good. That's good. All right, I'm happy for you and Dustin. So that's
Thank you.
That's a lot of fun. And so it's the fun thing about this show is always talking about the market, seeing what's going on, and the interesting thing is that we've even seen some change in the market since you were on just a couple months ago.
Yeah, market is definitely different. Changes that everyone thought were going to happen didn't really to the extent we thought. So it's been interesting getting adjusted to reality versus expectations.
It's funny because, as we said a little before the show, I'm trying not to be so sarcastic, right? 'Cause it's not really supposed to be good in life or on the radio, but, so I was about to say that it is. So no, it's not. I was just going to say because, the crystal balls are off. But, I mean, that's, the hard part about people predicting the real estate market is it seems to tend to always be unpredictable.
Yeah, I guess that's why we have the market conditions advisory.
That's why you have professionals.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but then they come out with their market conditions advisory, and then it's wrong, and it has to be something different, right?
Yes.
I mean, I think that's that's the interesting piece with it, and I think the statistic that I saw that surprised me the most was that active listings in Maricopa County were actually down last month when everyone's expecting inventory to pile up.
Yeah, that's been an interesting part of it, and one thing that we've been seeing, everyone thought we were going into a buyer's market. Buyer's market is coming, everything is slowing down, and it's going to be in favor of the buyer, and negotiations have shifted. But as far as an inventory perspective, we're actually still very much in a seller's market. We're less than 4 months supply of inventory. And so when inventory is low, you would think, oh, it must be kind of a heyday out there. But what we're seeing is with inventory decreasing and buyers not really feeling that, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but that frenzy to buy, we're just still seeing things kind of slow down, which has been nice. It feels like a normal market, maybe even bordering a buyer market, but it's actually still very much a seller's market.
Yeah, it seems like buyers have lost their sense of urgency, which
that's the word I was looking
to
for.
me is kind of unfortunate because I think it's actually a perfect time. If buyers have lost their urgency, it's a time to jump because
Exactly.
We don't talk interest rates a ton on the show, but there's just no doubt with quantitative easing, the end is in the future, and I mean rates are going to go up, and I think that's really going to be the thing that catches people off guard because people just lose so much buying power, and I just hate to see that. I mean, I want people to be able to buy as much house as they can buy, and so
I don't think they believe they're going to go up. I have these conversations all the time, and someone tells me, well, "What do you mean the rates are over 4?" And it's like, well, look, let me
for
tell
a year.
Yeah, let me
right?
tell you a story. Back when I bought my house, double digits, right? And so 4.5, that's still pretty dang good.
Yeah.
But they're lulled in that, like I said, that sense of security. I think because I've got clients that are out there, they have no urgency at all, and all of a sudden, but if somebody else likes the house, even though if no one's being urgent, someone's going to be first. So why not have it be you?
Well, it just makes more sense to buy without competing bid, and we're still
Right.
seeing competing bids a little bit, right?
We are, and it seems that it always happens when you least expect it. So house has been on the market for 2 months. I have a client that's interested. Maybe we see it twice because there isn't that urgency there. And when we finally go to write an offer, somebody else is also writing an offer. It is probably happening at least 50% of the time that we're like, well, no one's touched this in months, and now because we want it, it's just, I guess, the law of attraction.
Yeah, and that's such a hard thing too, because someone's your clients have that expectation in their mind too that this house has been on the market for 2 months. What's my urgency? And then there you go, and a little slap in the face because that probably means A, they may lose it, or B, they may pay more than they were hoping to pay.
Exactly. Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of that.
Well, and so walk me through. So, I mean, should we say that used to be Kelly Fast in case there's any fans out there who haven't caught the last name Kelly Henderson?
Woo! Yes, it's been a weird transition. My husband still calls me Kelly Fast, and so of course we still run into people all the time who I call, hey, it's Kelly Henderson. Who?
Who's that?
Oh, well, Kelly Fast. But yeah, so the transition is happening. It used to be Kelly Fast, but it is now Henderson.
Well, and I think that's I think a challenge, but it's good because you're. We always throw out there too. The unique thing about you is you are young, right? We try not to throw that out there, but
Unique for us.
We say young in age, but not in experience.
Definitely not. Nope. I'm actually right now in the top 3.5% of all 30-some thousand agents in the metro right
That's
now.
awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I like that 3.5%.
Oh, I keep track of those numbers. I'm ranked 1,056 out of the 33,000.
See, I think they do a really
As of
good
this morning?
job.
No, that was 2 weeks ago.
You may have moved up.
I actually think I would have moved up. We had some good
You're
closings.
probably in the top 1,000 now.
Oh, I like the sound of that. Maybe not.
990-ish.
Yeah, there we go.
The I think it's kind of crazy, and it's funny because I haven't done a very good job of that with our team and our rankings, but maybe this is the year we start touting it. We'll see. What do you
Yes, 44 last year, right?
think? 44 in the country last year for closed units.
Holy
so
smokes.
Woohoo!
yeah, there we go.
Glad that's catching on.
It is. I haven't jumped in yet. I'm waiting for Jeremy to see if he jumps in.
Woohoo!
All right, there we go. I like that. If you're just joining us, this is the Woohoo Show. I'm Todd Bookspan. Actually, it's Real Talk. We're here every Saturday from 2 to 3 p.m. on AM 960, The Patriot. You can give us a call on the off-air number, 866-250-252. Again, 866-250-252. I'd love to put you in touch with Kelly Henderson with the Momentum Group at Keller Williams, or you can learn more about her at MomentumRE.com. Again, that's MomentumRE.com, which I'm hoping most people that are listening, that they're all really smart. That stands for real estate.
Hopefully, we'll cross our fingers.
You saved us some time. So how'd you come up with the name Momentum?
Actually, long story short, one of my girlfriends is in advertising, and I threw the idea out to her when I wanted to create a team. I said, I need a name. Start kind of turning your wheels. And she came up with it. And a couple others were thrown out there, but I always feel like I'm trying to take it to the next level in my own life and in my own business. And Momentum, I just love that idea of kind of pushing forward. And so I actually promised her $1 royalty for every closing for the next 2 years.
Wow.
As kind of a thank you.
That's good. You can issue a 1099, I hope, because the IRS may be listening. Just
there
say
you
yes.
go. Yes, yes.
Well, and I think that's great because Momentum is just one of those things I see. I coach loan officers a lot, and when I'm coaching them, the thing I really continue to remind them is that right as they start getting momentum, right, it's how to keep that momentum going, because that seems to be a big challenge in real estate and on my side on the mortgage.
Yeah, a huge challenge. That was actually my number one goal when I got into real estate, is I didn't want to ride that commission roller coaster everyone talks about. Most of the time we hear of agents getting out of it, it's because they can't keep consistency. And that was the goal, and
you started to build a team for that reason, right? So that way you can really focus on your clients and on the things that you as the realtor need to do.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they think of real estate, they think of, okay, well, you go out, you show homes. Yes, that is a large part of what I do, but there are a million things behind the scenes. I mean, think of each real estate agent, like a loan officer or something like that, is their own small business. So when you think of a small business in the Valley, we've got some sort of manager, we've got employees, probably an accountant that's part of it, somebody who's handling some sort of marketing for the business, and a real estate agent is a one-stop shop for all of that. So when you're working with an individual agent, depending on what kind of volume they're doing, there's a chance they could be overwhelmed. So the team has really allowed us to kind of push those things to the back burner and to the behind the scenes where I can then focus on my clients, getting them into the house, getting them the good deal, or the most money for their home, depending on buyer or seller.
Well, and I think that's the key, right? And,
Yes.
and you are at a company, Keller Williams, that has amazing training, right? They're known as a great training company, and I know that you do some teaching yourself of
I do.
classes.
A couple different classes, which has been a lot of fun. I like to be involved in a lot of different things outside of buying and selling. It keeps me very involved and avoiding any sort of burnout. Love teaching.
You know, burnout's not a good thing, especially when you're in your younger years. So.
Yes, I hope I don't get burnt out now. That would be a big surprise. But no, the teaching and the other activities keeps me very active in a lot of different parts. So I'm not just kind of cranking in the same wheel.
Well, and I like that. You know, I think that is key. And so kind of as you're listening, I mean, my goal here of having Kelly back is to continue the conversation that we had before with regards to the market. You work all over, but you really focus primarily in North Phoenix and Scottsdale, correct?
North Phoenix, North Scottsdale, born and raised. I'm a native here, so it's an area I'm very familiar with, in addition to the fact that I do sell a lot of real estate there. It's kind of my wheelhouse.
And you're a Wildcat like I am, so I think
Yes,
that's
go
awesome.
Cats.
I mean, that's a big bear down, right? You know, that was good. When I was in Italy last month, I saw, and I was walking up this big hill to the Plaza Michelangelo, and there's someone walking up in their full Wildcat, regalia. So is that right? I don't know if that's the right word, but they look good. So I had to compliment them because that was, I was all impressed.
Yeah, anytime I see something like that, I shout out "Go Cats!" And most of the time, people aren't thinking about what they're wearing when they're just walking around, so they look at me kind of funny and then look down at their shirt and then scream back, "Go Cats!"
There we go. See, that's good.
Nice.
I think we need that. I think we need that kind of thing. And so, kind of as we roll out of this segment into our next segment, I kind of want to set up what we're going to be talking about with Kelly. We've also got Mick Bernard who'll be talking about credit in the third segment, but with Kelly, we're going to continue on from a buyer's perspective, from a seller's perspective. I mean, really the things that you need to know. We'll also steer you towards Kelly's blog, because I know that she's got some new great stuff, and she's going to kind of talk about some of the changes that she's seeing in the market. I guess I probably should ask you, Mick, what we're going to be talking about in the credit segment.
We're going to talk about, here's a question, does credit repair really work?
I hope so.
That's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to share a couple of secrets about that and give a success story, really, so you can decide on your own if it works or not.
All right. Well, if it doesn't work, then we've been wasting a lot of time with your segment on this show. So I'm Todd Bookspan. This is Real Talk. We're here every Saturday from 2 to 3 p.m. on AM 960, The Patriot. I'm joined in studio today by Kelly Henderson with the Momentum Real Estate Group at Keller Williams. You can learn more about Kelly by going to MomentumRE.com. Again, that's MomentumRE.com. Or give me a call on the off-air number, 866-250-252. We're back after these messages.
You're listening to Todd Bookspan's Real Talk on Intelligent Talk 960, The Patriot. Now, live in studio, your host, local real estate expert, Todd Bookspan.
Welcome back to Real Talk, the show that's about you. It's about rebuilding Arizona's housing and credit markets one family at a time. I'm Todd Bookspan, and I'm happy to have you here listening today. Before I jump in with the show, I got to thank the one and only super producer, Jeremy Siegel. Thank you, my friend.
Why, thank you very much. I won't woohoo, but thank you very
Yeah,
much.
you already did. I already did let you woohoo on the show, so that was a lot of fun. If you missed the first segment, it was actually a great segment, and we woohooed a lot. Next segment, hang tight, because we'll have Mick Bernard talking about whether or not credit repair really works.
Woohoo!
There we go. And
I'm really glad I could bring that to
also
the show.
happy to have Kelly Henderson with the Momentum Real Estate Group at Keller Williams Realty back with us. Welcome back, Kelly.
Woohoo!
There we go. Man, we are having a great time. I mean, this is a lot of fun. And so I'm kind of excited. We're going to talk about buyers this segment, and then in the final segment, we're going to talk about those of you who are thinking about selling a home and listings. And I think really when you talk about both segments, it applies to all of you. It applies to you whether you're thinking of buying or selling a home, because this is what you need to know about your home value and really what's affecting the market out there. And certainly if you're doing one or the other, it's good to know how the other side is thinking. So I think if I'm a seller, I want to know what's going on the buyer side of it. And, I mentioned before your website, Momentum RE, and you've got a blog on there. So I love the fact that when you were prepping for the show yesterday, you posted up a new blog titled "So You're Thinking of Buying a Home."
Yeah, we really wanted to cover and it worked perfectly with the show, so I'm glad those went hand in hand so we could collaborate. But we have a lot of buyers who we run into, and they're ready to buy. Great. So we sit down and talk. We do a new buyer consultation with all of our buyers, and we find out that they're probably ready to buy in 6 months, which is usually unfortunate because by the time they're coming to us or that we're reaching them in one way, shape, or form, their lease is almost up or whatever is the reason they think they're now ready to buy. So we're really trying to be very proactive about getting to buyers and making sure they're prepared to buy for, let's say, they want to buy in 2015. Great. What do you need to be doing now to get there? Now, we hit on a couple different things, but I think there's kind of 3 main parts that a buyer should be looking for. The first is, surprise, surprise, saving money. It costs money to buy a house. You might
Come on.
Really?
Yeah, it does. Money. We hear all kinds of buyers like, oh, what about those 0 down programs? Well, are you a veteran? No? Okay, well, then let's talk about saving some money. There are, of course, different programs out there, but for the most part, people are going to need to save in some money.
There we go.
We highlight a couple different numbers, but depending on what type of financing you're getting, you're probably going to be looking at a 5% conventional down payment or maybe a 3.5% down payment for an FHA loan. Those are kind of 2 numbers that we're seeing a lot out there. Obviously, you can save more, which is great. But if we're talking to a buyer who's kind of looking more for that minimum, we want to make sure they're probably around a 5% conventional down payment. And then obviously there are other costs associated with buying a home. We call them closing costs. So inspection fees, appraisal fees, fees that the lender would charge. Obviously they're providing a great service and there are some costs associated with that. And typically we find a 2 to 3% range for those costs. I'm no lending genius, unlike you guys. But that's what we guide our clients a lot on. So we want to make sure that they if they don't have the ability to save that extra 2 to 3%, we need to be aware of that up front so we can negotiate better because the seller may cover some of those costs, as we're seeing right now a lot in the market, but not always. So it's good to be prepared. And then obviously you don't want to be draining your bank account buying a house and your refrigerator goes out the second week and now you've spent all the money on the house but don't have money for the new fridge. So
Nothing worse than that.
Nothing worse than that. Some hot ground beef on an Arizona July day.
Yes.
Yes. We also talk about dreaming. We have a lot of buyers that want to buy a house, and then they start talking about that financing process. And the financing process is lots of numbers, but it doesn't get to the reason why people buy a home. They don't typically buy it for the investment, although we do work with a lot of investors. They're buying that place to call home. They're buying a place that they don't have to be paying rent into. They're planning their birthdays there, their holidays there, whatever the case is. So we want people to be dreaming. Where do you want to be? What kind of house do you want to be in? Do you want the walls to be painted gray? What kinds of things are in your mind? That way you can start kind of dreaming for where all this hard work is going to.
I love the idea of dreaming.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly the same thing. That's
you.
a great frame of mind to put a buyer into. Get them excited about buying a home.
I appreciate that. I know my husband and I, we're buying our second home right now, and it's something that seeing it from the buyer's perspective always helps me to kind of realign where I'm at. And it also helps on the seller side when I'm looking at photos and I think, yikes, stripes. It also gives, just being in that position gives you so much more guidance too, to do it again with your clients. But we talk about in the third kind of segment of that blog, interviewing an agent. So many buyers, we get it all the time. A sign call off the sign, hey, we would like to see the house. Great. I always recommend to my buyers, if the first time you're ever meeting an agent is in a house, it's probably not going to be the best fit. You should be meeting them. And I like to say that it's 2 separate transactions. You need to find an agent and you need to find a house. They're not one and the same. So there should be an interview process with an agent. We see a lot of people who don't interview more than one agent. I recommend more than one, but at least one. Similar to selling a house where you care about different numbers, we care about that on the buy side too. Is the agent going to get you a good deal? And there are statistics that will be able to show that. So what percentage list price to sales price ratio are you at? So for example, we had a client the other day, actually they closed yesterday.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Dina and Rick. Very sweet people, but we got them under contract on a house for $210,000. So just above average for the price point right now. And it appraised for $230,000.
Nice.
So they walked away from the house with almost 10% equity before even putting their down payment. So their mortgage payment's going to be lower. Obviously, they got a great deal. It's unfortunate for the seller that they didn't have that same representation. But on the buyer's perspective, that's the goal, to find an agent who's going to get you actually into the house, but also for the best deal. They actually got some closing costs and a bunch of other things with that, too. So you want to find an agent that's good at what they do.
I like that. And so on the closing cost piece, how often right now are you seeing buyers able to get closing costs as part of the transaction?
I'd say right now 90% of my buyers are getting that.
Well, I think that's great because you were talking about the cash to close, right? And my advice always to clients is to minimize the cash out of pocket, to keep cash in the bank. And so if you can get that, as part of the transaction, meaning that it's built in the price, right? You ask, so we'd like $3,000 worth of closing costs or whatever that number is, or a percentage. Such a great way to do it. So, what a great service you did for your clients.
Yeah, it's been very helpful for them, especially you're negotiating that up front. You haven't even seen the inspection yet. So if you're able to get some of those costs negotiated up front when you go to get into the inspection, if for some reason the seller doesn't have any more wiggle room, maybe they're already at their bottom line and they can't accommodate for repairs or whatever, at least your client's already been able to pocket that money so that they do have some of that liquid asset available for repairs if they need to, and they're really dead set on the house.
Well, and that's it, because we always have to advise clients not to be charging things ahead of time. There's nothing worse when someone goes out there and they buy all their furniture on a credit card, and now Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and FHA, they all require a credit pull before close, and all of a sudden their debt-to-income ratio is shot up and they've got problems. And the whole goal is to avoid those kind of things that are so easy to avoid with the proper coaching and consulting. And certainly if they've got cash in their pocket, then they're less likely to do that.
Yes, exactly.
So, and I should also throw out there, because I could see Mick already is jumping at it, that Home in 5 is a good option for people who are concerned about down payment.
Home in 5 is a great option. We do a lot of those programs. And the nice thing about it is you can also do it like on a VA loan. We had one where we did a VA loan where he had some extra money to actually get lower than 100% financing.
Right, which is great, right? So it's fun when you can pull off all that kind of stuff. Certainly, Mick and I would love to answer your lending questions. Of course, Kelly Henderson with the Momentum Group at Keller Williams Real Estate would love to answer all of your home buying and selling questions. Give me a call on the offer number, 866-200-5252. Again, 866-200-5252. Check out Kelly's website and read her blog. There's lots of other great topics on there. It's at MomentumRE.com. Again, that's MomentumRE.com. After these messages, Mick is going to be talking about, does credit repair really work? Talk to you shortly.
You're listening to Todd Bookspan's Real Talk on Intelligent Talk 960, The Patriot. Now, live in studio, your host, local real estate expert, Todd Bookspan.
Welcome back to Real Talk, the show that's about you. It's about rebuilding Arizona's housing and credit markets one family at a time. And before we bring back Kelly Henderson with the Momentum Group at Keller Williams, we are going to have Mr. Mick Bernard talk in our third, one and only credit segment about whether credit repair really works. And as my comment was, as I hope it works, if not for the last 3.5 years, we've been wasting our time on this segment of our listeners. But I'm going to let you take it away.
So does credit repair really work? The answer is yes.
Good.
Any other questions?
Woo. All right. Back to Kelly.
And so rather than saying does it work, I'm just going to give you an example. I had a client 2 months ago come into my office wanting to purchase the home that she occupies from her landlord. She had a loan
2 months ago, 60 days ago.
Yeah, 60 days ago she came in.
That's not that long ago.
No, we ran her credit, and she was shocked to see that she had a foreclosure.
What?
No foreclosure. What she did actually have happen, she had a loan modification.
Oh.
She had a loan modification.
And the bank reported it wrong?
Bank reported it wrong, just like they do in about 77% of all of our credit reports. And so the moral of that story is if you have a major incident, like I never used to include loan modification in that list, but loan modification, short sale, foreclosure, bankruptcy, make sure you check your credit. If this person would have checked her credit back when she decided she wanted to execute and buy a home, and actually I think she came to us as her second lender because the first lender couldn't help her. We reviewed everything, saw that it was a foreclosure. I actually referred her to my wife's company, Credit Strategies. Jeannie did a great job, sent out a great letter to the lender and to the bureaus, attached documentation like the HUD showing that it was, or the modification agreement, I should say, proving that it was never a foreclosure. And lo and behold, we reran her through our system 2 days ago, and the foreclosure's gone, and she's now approved. And so I can only tell you, it works in her case. It works in many cases. And so if you have erroneous information on your credit report, you need to dispute it or ask for proof of why they're reporting it that way. And it can be anything from a late payment to a medical collection to a foreclosure. And it's very common that a foreclosure will report in error after a short sale, after a loan modification. And so you need to make sure it's reporting correctly. The only way you're going to know before you come to us to get your pre-approved would be to pull your own credit. Check your credit on a regular basis, especially if you've had a major negative incident. You want to check your credit 60 to 90 days after you have a bankruptcy that's discharged, 60 to 90 days after you do a short sale and you have your HUD. You want to make sure that it actually is reporting as a short sale and not a foreclosure. You don't want to it worked out great for our client here because she was buying the house that she was occupying, and the landlord just gave her a 90-day extension and said, let me know when you get it worked out. However, Kelly, right, if so, you have a client that makes an offer on a home, and all of a sudden they find out that it's going to take 90 days or 60 days to fix their credit so they can purchase it, even though you know it's not correct. How many sellers are going to wait that long?
Not a lot of sellers. The market, at least, is slightly forgiving, but I would be surprised to find some. I mean, maybe 10 days. Right. 15, something like that. 90, that's a little bit of a stretch.
Exactly, and it's going to take at least 30 to get a response from the bureaus, right? And so we always say we asked for a 90-day extension. We only needed a 30. However, the last thing I wanted to do ask for a 30-day extension and say, guess what? Now they ignored, because many times what happens is the credit bureau will ignore the first letter. They won't even do anything, except for when my wife sends them out, she sends them out certified receipt returned. She attached the documents. She has a couple of other little tricks that I won't share to make sure that the letter is actually read, because what happens is when letters go into the bureaus, they actually are opened by a robot and scanned into their system, and they do their best to consider them a frivolous letters. There are certain things that a letter has to contain and cannot contain in order to get an actual human being to review it. And so, because over half of them are getting read by robots, basically.
So one thing you just said was that your wife, when she sends it, so I did forget to say that this segment is sponsored by Credit Strategies. You can learn more about the credit provider we trust by going to 911creditpro.com.
Yes, so Jeannie sends the letter out, and again, she knows all the tricks. She goes to the credit boot camps. She does that a couple times a year, 3 or 4 days of intensive training of what's working now. And we're not saying dispute things that are accurate. I mean, if they're old or they're erroneous, so they should be validated. And if they can't be validated legally, they can be removed, even if they actually happened. However, that's really not her strategy.
Sounds like a boring class.
Totally boring.
I mean, Kelly's been to Bold, which is an exciting class 5 times that Keller Williams has to train their realtors. But
we're talking 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. probably 4 days in a row.
Talking about everything that the credit bureaus do wrong and how to actually fix errors.
I interview people that used to work at the bureaus and get tricks of the trade of how you get your letters actually read, because most of the letters are not read and they're just considered frivolous. And so the one loophole that the bureaus have is in the Fair Credit Reporting Act is if they consider a credit letter to be frivolous, they can just call it frivolous and don't have to respond. And so you want to make sure that you don't fall into that category.
Well, as always, I appreciate first off that you prove that credit repair really does work.
Exactly.
I always appreciate you jumping in, Mick, and helping us with this segment. Learn more about credit strategies by going to 911creditpro.com or just give me or Mick a call on the off-air number 866-250-252. Again, 866-250-252. We're back with Kelly Henderson with the Momentum Real Estate Group at Keller Williams after these messages.
You're listening to Todd Bookspan's Real Talk on Intelligent Talk 960, The Patriot. Now, live in studio, your host, local real estate expert, Todd Bookspan.
Welcome back to Real Talk, the show that's about you, about rebuilding Arizona's housing and credit markets one family at a time. And really our goal is to always help you understand what's going on in our real estate market. And to do that today, I've got Kelly Henderson with the Momentum Real Estate Group at Keller Williams Realty. Welcome back, Kelly.
Thank you.
So I'll just even throw out there, you can learn more about Kelly by going to MomentumRE.com. It's kind of a fun thing. I was going to talk to Jeremy about sports because I knew he would know nothing about the Tour de France, which is really, I'm kind of into it this time of year, but he left his seat. So I think I'm just going to start talking about real estate instead.
Sounds like a good plan.
And so if you guys missed it, Mick Bernardis did a great job talking through in the credit segment about that credit repair really does work and gave a great example of a recent homeowner he's helped. So I appreciate that, Mick. And we also talked through what's going on in the market and then really what you need to learn if you are a buyer in the market. Kelly did a great job So you can listen to this recording and all previous recordings by going to realtalkaz.com. Again, that's realtalkaz.com, or again, go back to that momentumre.com, and you can check out Kelly's blog that she posted yesterday for all you buyers out there. But now we're going to switch gears to those of you who are thinking of selling your home. Because definitely, as we said in the first segment, inventory has actually dropped a little bit, but buyers have no real sense of urgency right now.
Yeah, so as far as inventory is concerned, we would consider this a seller's market. That's traditionally anything below 4 months supply of inventory. And I think as of yesterday, when the stats were released, we're at 3.86. So we're starting to get to more of a normal market. But yeah, month after month, we've actually seen a decrease in new inventory. But with that in mind, we are, with that lack of urgency, we're starting to see the characteristics of a more normal or possibly a buyer's market. So that would be something more like negotiating, smaller chances and opportunities for multiple offers, although if you're priced right, we're still seeing them all the time. Maybe doing more to your house before listing, stuff like that. So a little bit of a different market than we saw maybe 6 months ago.
So, I think that as the market obviously changes then what you need to do as a seller is probably changing too. Are there any things that you're having your sellers do differently now than they had done before?
Yes, and I suppose it depends on what time frame you're talking about, but let's say we take it back a year and a half. You could probably pretty much put anything on the market, and it would probably sell for multiple offers above list price. We were in a complete frenzy. Now what we're seeing is there's a lot more care, or there should be a lot more care and interest put into the house when you're marketing it. I always tell my clients, I think people have more experience selling a car than a house. Probably sell a car a little bit more often maybe, or at least I've gone through a lot of cars, so I have a lot of experience in it. And I always
really hate selling cars. So.
I know, it's the worst. But I explain how when you sell a car, there's no French fries in the back seat. You don't have your dog's slobber on the window.
You get it detailed.
You get it detailed, and you spend, $150 to get your car detailed. It's ready to go. Well, that's maybe a $10,000 car, and we're talking about a $300,000 home. So let's do some multiplication, push that out. There should be a bit of an investment going into your home if you can. Obviously, we're still dealing with sellers who are maybe on the fence, and after closing costs and commissions and such are more so breaking even. So it obviously depends on the person. But, for example, painting. Sometimes we get a little bit of pushback on paint. When someone's lived in a home, that is what they've experienced. That's the memories they have in it. That's the style they have in it. They love it. But it's not your home anymore. It's going to be your house soon because you're selling it. It's not yours anymore, or it won't be. It's good to start taking that step away from thinking of it as a home and starting to think of it as somebody else's house soon. So painting is the one thing we do get quite a bit of pushback on. And one example I can think of is a while back we had a client, super sweet. She had a pretty big house. It was vacant at the time, about 3,300 square feet, and every room, when her furniture was in it, had a different theme and it matched, so it made sense. So she had this beautiful navy study that matched all of the redwood furniture and stuff, but when the furniture wasn't in here, it was a blue room. And her daughter's room was purple, which went well with the decor that was in there before, but now it's just a purple room. So each room had a different color and theme, so when a buyer walked into the home, while paint is very easy to take care of, they saw 3,300 square feet of every single room was a different color.
Right. Nothing like a little rainbow.
Yeah. So we had a little bit of pushback on that for about 3 weeks. And for me, 3 weeks is a long time on the market. And so finally, after much suggestion, she finally agreed to paint the house. So we had a painter come in, took 2 days, painted the whole thing for her. It was actually a pretty good cost, which was awesome. Sold the next day. And when I called her to tell her we got our offer, the first thing she said was, I should have listened to you sooner. And it's not that I was right in the situation or anything like that. It's that that's what the market.
Were right.
You were right.
It's okay. Admit it. That's,
I was right. You should listen to your agent.
Exactly.
But that's the point. The buyer, a lot of buyers want to picture themselves there. They don't want to picture what your things look like or what the house looked like with you in it. So simple things like painting, really detailed cleaning. You don't want if you're not going to paint, there shouldn't be any fingerprints or scuff marks or anything like that on the wall. Getting the carpets clean, stuff that for the most part, is pretty relatively inexpensive, or is just going to take a lot of your time. So maybe a whole day cleaning the house, or renting a little $20 carpet shampooer from Fry's and heading over to home. But makes a huge difference, not only in how quick it's going to sell, but how large of a price point you're going to get when you do close.
What about staging? Is that something that you're doing more or less of right now?
I, as a professional, do a lot of staging. Right now, we're not hiring any companies, not for the houses that we've had listed so far. We haven't needed them. I know that in certain cases we would, but I provide that as a service for my clients. So we go through and we work with what they have. That way they're not having to pay to bring in furniture or pay to bring in different things. But yeah, making sure staging is not only product placement, so stuff in their home where it's placed, but it's also the thought process of packing. You're leaving the house. You're not going to be living there anymore. And if everything goes right, you could be out in as early as 30 days. So your books. A lot of people have libraries. They have lots of things in them that gives it a very cluttered feel. Pack the box. Pack the books. You don't need them in there, and the odds are you're not going to reread your library in the next few months anyway. So things that you can get rid of, I always tell them kind of rate your house from knickknacks to toothbrush. That's kind of the order in which you should pack things. So you don't need all your little cute tchotchkes that you've picked up over time, but you do need a toothbrush to stay in the house. So pack in that order. You should be pretty good.
There we go. If you're listening, if you're joining us, I'm Todd Bookspan. This is Real Talk. We're here every Saturday from 2 to 3 p.m. on AM 960 The Patriot. That's Kelly Henderson. She's with the Momentum Real Estate Group at Keller Williams Realty. You can learn more about Kelly by going to momentumre.com. Or I'd love to get you in touch with her if you're thinking of buying or selling a home. Just give me a call on the off-air number, 866-250-252. Again, 866-250-252. And so one of the things we talked about during the buyer segment was you said that most people don't take the time to actually interview their agent. The last thing you want to be doing is meeting someone at the home. And so I think, obviously, when you're listing your home, too, that is really important. So are there some questions that people can ask an agent about their experience, about what they've sold recently that will help them determine whether this person is going to give this advice like you're giving, which is great?
Most definitely. I actually have a list that I give to my clients when they interview me, so they can go out and interview agents and kind of do more of an apples-to-apples comparison. Some of the things we recommend they ask are, how many transactions do you close on a yearly basis? And then taking that into consideration with however their business is built. So the average agent in Maricopa County right now is doing about 6 deals a year. I'm not a fan of hiring somebody who's average in any profession. So you're going to want to make sure you're hiring somebody who's doing a little bit more than that. Somebody who's really at the top of the game. We do about 40 deals a year. That's what I'm producing right now. And so I feel like I'm in a comfort level of not too busy, but still comfortable.
Room for some growth. So
there's always room. There's always room for growth.
So that's like 6 times, 6.5 times the average.
Yep.
Yeah, which is great. Yes, please choose me. It's wonderful. But the point is, you really should just be making sure that you find somebody who's good at what they do and that they're doing it enough that they know all the lending regulations. Because when you are hiring somebody to sell your house, they're going to be working with a buyer on the opposite side. They need to make sure the buyer coming to them is at the appropriate level of financing, stuff like that. So you'll be interested in that. Most importantly, I think you'll want to know what their list price to sales price ratio is. Right now in Maricopa County, we see typically it hovers right around 97% is the average agent's
All right, so tell people what that really means. So if they put a house on the market for $100,000, the average agent sells it for $97,000.
Yes, so that's the average agent. Again, you'll probably want to hire somebody who has a better ratio.
So I'm
what's yours?
Above average there,
What's
too.
yours?
99.9.
Nice.
So yes, the idea is that we should be able to get somebody 3% more in their pocket. Which is funny because that's it could be commission, it could be closing costs. Those are all big numbers that it could add up to for somebody. So that's a huge question to ask.
I think that's a very huge question.
Yeah, you'll want to know what they provide for you. Are they going to be coming through with their cell phone and taking pictures of your house? Are they hiring a photographer to come in? Those are costs that are actually minute in the grand scheme of things. We have a professional photographer for every single listing we have. Those are things that really should be standard that you are...
Minute, but a lot of agents don't do it.
Oh, they don't. No. And on the buy side, as I mentioned, I'm buying right now, blows my mind to see homes going for $400,000 and there's 3 photos of the house.
Right, taken from the cell phone from the street.
Yeah, not helpful. Or just exterior photos. What does the inside look like? It just blows my mind.
It's a mystery.
It is a mystery. You'll want to see maybe some MLS listings that they currently have on the market, so you can take a look at them. Do you think they're marketed appropriately? Do you like the photos? Do you like the descriptions? Because however they're coming to your table that very moment is probably going to be the best level they're at. So the odds aren't that they're going to interview at 50%, and then once you hire them, they're going to go up to 100% and really show up every day for you. So when they come to the table, they should be providing you with everything that you're going to need to make a decision right then, because moving forward, you're going to want to make sure they're staying at least that level, but there shouldn't ever be a growth after the interview. They should really be coming to you top-notch already.
Well, and I think that's key. And, talking about photos, I love that I had a recent guest, and she said that she was explaining to a client who wouldn't do the cleanup and the recommendation that she made that the client said there weren't enough showings. And she said, well, there's been plenty of showings, and they looked at the statistics of how many people had looked at it online, and it was, like hundreds. And she said, well, you've had lots of first showings, but it's just not good enough to get people to come in for their second showing and see it live in person. Good. And so, I think that kind of advice is invaluable. And so I think as you're listening, that's, really one of the goals of the show is to help you make great choices by bringing on agents who really understand the market and really know what they're doing, because it is such an important transaction. It's always cliche. It's the biggest transaction of your life. But, the last thing you want to do is pick someone who is inexperienced or doesn't have the ability. What if they're the below average person who only sells at 90% of the list price on average? That would be terrible. That
would be terrible. Yeah, and I guess kind of segueing with that, also making sure, friends and family are great people to rely on. Maybe not the best people to sell your house. We see that a lot. Somebody, my cousin sells real estate, and I see their house go on the market, and I'm always interested to see, awesome, this cousin must be fabulous. And I pull up either the photos or the stats, and obviously I can't say anything to the seller, but at this point in time, I'm just biting my nails of, there's so much I wish I could tell you, and how I'm comfortable that there's quite a difference. And so, and not just with me, I'm sure there's plenty of agents out there that would feel the same and have had the same experience of, I wish you could see it from my perspective. So making sure that you're not just hiring the person you know or the first person that is suggested to you, but really interviewing and doing your research, because it is cliche, the biggest transaction of your life or whatever, but the odds are it really is.
Well, but I think it's such a great service that you're taking the time to prepare a list of questions that people should ask other agents after you meet with them, so that way they're going out there and comparing apples to apples. And obviously, they're the right questions, number one, and number two, they obviously show that you are above average, top 3.5%.
Yes, that feels good, but really, if I'm not the best agent for the job, that's not what I don't want to fake my way there. So if we can't prove it, and if they find somebody better, power to the people. Go find yourself somebody else. But we feel pretty confident when we have our presentations that we can do a good job.
Well, see, that's a challenge to all of you out there. So I would love to put all of you who are listening, who are thinking about buying or selling a home, or just really have questions about real estate. Let's learn more about Kelly Henderson by going to Momentum Real Estate Group. I almost messed it up.
Momentum RE.
Thank you. Man, I'm glad I have you here to clean up the end of the show here. So, again, that's MomentumRE.com. I just want to thank Kelly Henderson with the Momentum Real Estate Group at Keller Williams Realty. See, I blended those two together.
I see what you did there.
For taking time as a newlywed and a busy realtor to come in here today and share with us again. It was really great.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you, Mick Bernard, as always, Mr. Credit Strategist, a member of the Bookspan Baker team at Cobalt Mortgage. I'm Todd Bookspan. This is Real Talk. We'll be here next Saturday from 2 to 3 p.m. on AM 960, The Patriot. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy Saturday to learn more about what's going on in our real estate market. You can call on the off-air number, 866-250-252. Again, 866-250-252. Happy to answer your credit, real estate, and mortgage questions. And thanks again. Learn more about Kelly Henderson one last time at MomentumRE.com. I'm Todd Bookspan, and I am out of here.
Thank you for listening to Todd Bookspan's Real Talk, brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. To learn more, visit realtalkarizona.com.